What's up, everyone? It is the Beast, Brian London, back here finally on the channel The Beast On. It is good to be back on YouTube. I know it's been too long. It's been so long, but sometimes life gets in the way, right? Yeah. We've been cranking on this MBA, media management graduate degree, trying to get this thing done by December. Just going hard on it, and some other projects have come up that I've been delightfully working on. And to be honest, I just for a while I just was in this place where I didn't have the motivation just the desired topics that I wanted to opine on or come talk to you guys about. And I just left YouTube alone for a little bit. But finally, I got the interview that I've been waiting for years. And that has motivated me to get back on here. And so here I am. And let me set this up. For the last 5 or 6 years, I've really found a kindred spirit out there. Someone who I feel like I really identify with their line of thinking and their way of expressing themselves, especially on social media. And it's really been uplifting. It's really been comforting to know that there's someone out there that kind of has the same things go through their brain that I do. She's incredibly funny. She's incredibly intelligent. She is one of the nicest, most down-to-earth, awesome people I know. And she's just amazing. And I love her so much. And she's just one of the best people I know. And you probably know her too. Because like me, she was on the radio here in South Florida for 2+ decades, and had such a great following and made such an impact on the lives of all of you out there. So I knew I wanted to talk to her. I wanted this to be the video, the interview that got me back on YouTube. So without further ado, here's my conversation with the one and only great Deena Lang. What's up, everyone? It is the Beast, Brian London, and we are back. And joining me on this journey, the amazing, incomparable person that you see on the other side of your screen is the amazingly talented Deena Lang, who I know from my journeys throughout the radio world over the last 25 years. Deena, I've been wanting to do this interview since I think it was 1972. And, life happens in a pandemic, so it's been hard, but I'm glad we could finally get to do this. So thank you.
We live like 3 blocks away from each other and have not been able to pull it together over the past year and a half. So that just goes to show what adulting does to you.
Also, in the pandemic world of Zooming and Skyping and all this stuff, again, we live, literally, I can throw a baseball at Deena's house, and yet I'm in my guest bedroom, and Deena's somewhere with some interesting.
What? You're not in a Hogwarts library?
I have a Hogwarts library set up in my guest bedroom. Deena's so jealous of my background.
You look so smart with that background. Like, where are your bifocals? What is going on?
Don't let the looks fool you. So, I don't know if I've ever told you the story about where or why. I'm trying to use my words correctly because I don't want to be that guy. But where I kind of fell in love with the Deena Lang character, I think it was, which was originally. My goal in life was to be the next, morning man, right? Whether, Howard, Elvis Duran, whatever. And so when I got into radio in 1995, I was doing the sports thing, but I was doing the music thing. I was interning at Kiss 108 in Boston, and that's where I thought my life track goes. So I was more tuned in on the FM side of the dial than I was the sports side of the dial. Mm-hmm. And one night I'm driving around in my car and I hear this voice of, I think you were like an intern at the time or something. You had just started at maybe Y100.
Yeah.
I remember hearing your voice coming out of my speakers going, she's going to be a star. That girl, I don't know who she is, where she comes from. She is going to be a star. I want to be like her. Because at the time, I think I was like overnight intern at like QAM with a bunch of guys that didn't shower. And so I was very jealous and envious. And then I tracked you, and you developed that stardom and went on to successful things. And it was kind of an inspirational story to me. So
I didn't, you never told me that. I never knew that. But yeah, that's where I started as an intern. And it was just a fluke that I ended up on air because nobody else, I was interning for someone who everyone had labeled very difficult. And you know, in this business, how you can easily get labeled difficult and people don't really bother to figure out what's going on behind the scenes or maybe why you would be difficult. So I was probably the 6th intern to come through and under a couple of months. And when they sat me down to interview me about the internship, they said, we don't expect that you'll last long. He's very difficult, the guy that you're going to be on with. You're really going to have thick skin. He throws stuff. He screams. He throws temper tantrums. He's very difficult to get along with. And I was like, all right, let's give it a whirl. Let's see what happens. And I was able to kind of like break through, and we became great friends. And people were like, all of my coworkers were really confused, and they kind of saw him more as a human being after that. Because I was able to be like, listen, everyone thinks you're a dick. You should probably like tone it down a little bit. And he had a little bit of a come to Jesus over it. And I think that changed everything. But that was my first step on air. And then I eventually ended up getting paid after my internship. And it just kind of like snowballed from there. But it's crazy that that's where you heard me, because I feel like I was a completely different human being then, because I was just a shell of myself. I was so insecure and I had no idea what I was doing. And I was so scared because I was like, a CD is going to get thrown at me at any minute. Like I didn't know what was going on. So it's funny that you found any kind of inspiration in a 19-year-old girl who was terrified.
Yeah, because I listen, I think we're roughly around the same age, same generation, same area. So I think I was going through the same thing because at the time I was interning for the rough, tough, no one gets along with host in Hank Goldberg, who did throw things and yell and has been known to punch politicians in the face for no reason. And so I think I could kind of sympathize, empathize, but also I think I just noticed potential. And there was something every time. I have a knack for this, and I don't want to get into my own personal stories, but it's like the first time I heard Tones and I sing Dance Monkey, way before it was popular, I was like, something's gonna happen here. Like this girl's got something. And I think that's the same thing I heard with your voice. As different as it was back then obviously what you developed into, which is like this confident, awesome, amazing on-air talent. So real quick for the viewing audience, just take us through your journey real quick, your background. Are you from Florida and all that stuff?
Florida native. I went to actually graduated from Stoneman Douglas and went off to do my internship at Y100. That was my first on-air job. Then I went from Y100 to Zeta, to 94.9 Zeta. Worked my way up, to Zeta. Worked my way up doing nights, and then eventually to middays. And then I was doing like an overlap shift where I would do the second half of Paul and Ron's show, the morning show, into my actual shift. So I was working like this extended shift and scheduling music and stuff and learning a lot. And that was awesome. And then when the station flipped, the format flipped, I went to do mornings at Coast, which is now Hits 97.3. That was very short-lived. I did that with Julie Guy. Awesome. And then went to West Palm for WRMF and did that for about 9 years. Did mornings there for a long time, learned a ton. And then ended up coming back here when Shark launched. And then did that for 5 years. So it's been all South Florida based, and I've done a lot of tracking out of market and everything as well. But for the most part, I mean, my career has been all in South Florida, which I was very lucky. I was lucky because a lot of us don't get a chance to do that. And you have to uproot and you have to move for the gig, and that can be kind of disruptive, you know. So yeah, I got lucky.
When you're learning this stuff, they always tell you, like, yeah, there's gonna be a Dubuque in your future. Like, you'll be in Toledo. Like, that's going to happen. So good luck to you, kid.
Yeah.
And both of us were lucky enough to do it all down here, which is good. Both of us have a shared not so good situation. We were both separated from our radio careers.
That's such a pretty way to put it.
I mean, corporately downsized. I don't know what else to call it. But without, there's a lot of things I could call it, none of which would be good. But the impact on that, especially as you find yourself not the young kid anymore that's willing to work for bupkis money or move somewhere else, and you're established as a mom and a wife and a family, and you can't just uproot and go find a job somewhere else. For me, it was life-changing, but I've turned it around a little bit. What was that like for you?
It's been almost a year at this point, and it was initially, so it was an interesting thing that I hadn't experienced before, because we were working from home, right? Pandemic, I'm literally doing a show out of my closet, and I'm isolated. I'm talking to a wall, which is crazy because I am an introvert / extrovert in that I do, like, my core people bring me comfort. So in radio, you have your little people in your little studio, and that makes you happy, and that helps you develop creatively, and that's where so many of your ideas come from. And then you find yourself in a pandemic sitting in your closet, like forcing yourself to come up with content and do, because that's what anybody who's good at this job is constantly developing and constantly creating content, right? That's the job. Otherwise you become obsolete. So knowing that and sitting there staring at my white walls, kind of going crazy, it pushed me, rather than having people to talk to on the phone and being in that live on-air mode, recording everything, it pushed me to pick up my phone and learn how and do a bunch of research and figure out how I could interact with and connect with people through my social media channels instead. So that's really where everything has turned for me. And I found a way to connect with the audience that I resonate with through all my social media channels. And then I think that when people see that you're authentic and excuse me, and when they connect with that, when they see part of themselves in you, they're like, I'm along for the ride. Let's go. Let's do this. And when you recommend a product, they know that it's the real deal. They know that it's not just, hey, it's girl on the radio who's been told she has to tell it, who's been forced to sell you this car. It's a real authentic relationship at that point, because they know that you're picking these products that you're telling them about, that you're actually using these things that you're telling them about. So it's actually, it's a really cool, very free way to feel right now. Like, I just feel this freedom, and I feel like I can actually be myself, and I feel like I don't have to, I don't have to be part of the circus, which is kind of cool. Like, you get to pick and choose, and you get to, there is a bit of, it's a bit liberating, and it's not a knock on radio at all. Radio was amazing to me. Up until the end, radio was great to me, and radio was great to you, and you have to come to terms with that. We had wonderful careers for decades. But I firmly believe that if you're a great content creator, nothing can stop you. And I just think that there are it's challenging because in radio hasn't quite woken up to the fact that social media is the end all be all right now, right? It is the ultimate way to connect with the people that you need to connect with. And I think radio is a little behind when it comes to that, and they don't prepare you for that. So when you have these mass layoffs and all these people are going, oh my God, my family's depending on me, and how am I going to make this money? And what am I going to do? They are not properly prepared. We're not given the skills that we need to branch out or do something else. And it's terrifying. I don't know. I guess boredom gave me the push to do all the research. And I mean, dozens of hours of research and asking questions and reaching out and just reading articles and following blogs and all sorts of things to figure out how to do what I'm doing now. But they don't give you that information, and they don't train you for that in radio. And it's very scary. And I've said that I've had so many of our radio friends reach out to me and say, what happens if I'm next? Like, what am I going to do? And I keep telling everyone, you have to prepare yourself, because they're not going to pay to give you to school you, to give you that additional. It's a challenging time for everyone, for every business right now, and no one's going to want to sink more money into training their employees. It's a time where managers are just saying, this is what I need you to do, and I need you to just like take the ball and run with it, get it done. I don't know how to tell you how to get it done. I have friends who are program directors in other markets who are calling me and saying, I have no budget to pay you a consulting fee. I have so many questions, and I'm like ripping my hair out, and I don't know what to do. Can you help me? And yeah, of course I'm going to help them. They're my friends, but it's sad. It's very sad that people are expected to do so much and wear so many hats, and there's no additional compensation, and it's just make it happen, you know? But that would be the number one thing that I would say to anybody who finds himself in a position where you've been in radio your entire career and then you're out of work. You got to start reading. You have to start reading. You have to start doing research, watching YouTube videos, and just figuring out who you are and what your brand is, and putting the work in. It's a full-time job that you're not necessarily going to get compensated for, and it's frightening. It is.
Yeah. So I've been really impressed by your development of your social media channels. You can follow her at It's Deena Lang everywhere you can follow anything, and whether it's been your brand ambassadorships or your influencer situations, or just your like the memes you post and whatever you're retweeting, or I don't know what it's called on Instagram when you post someone else's IG, but it's whatever that's called. That's good too. Yeah. You're sharing. But I think what I've been most impressed by is just the voice, the tone, the tenor of your social media personality. And I have not developed mine. I'm all over the place. I can't rein myself in. I'm scatterbrained on social media like I am in life, but you've managed to really find something, to really stumble upon this voice that you have. And I feel like, I find it completely, inspiring, because you're you and you found a way to be you, on social media, and it's really hard to do. So how did that come about? How did you find this voice of yours?
They'll tell you, like, if you read up on any of the social media experts, which anyone who has 5 followers can call themselves an expert, but they'll all say the riches are in the niches. That's like the thing that you hear over and over again. And I remember hearing that, and it was a very off-putting idea that I'd have to niche down to the point where my account is about one thing. And there are a lot of people, I mean, that's ultimately, like, that's the way that you are going to be successful. And I had actually come to terms with the fact that I just wasn't going to be successful doing this, because I, like you, there are a lot of things that interest me. I always say, I'm like the female Larry David. Like, I'll go to Publix and I'm going to tweet some random shit that happened in the aisle at Publix. And then I'm going to tweet about mental health. And then I'm going to, post a reel about some thing that my kid said to me. I am all over the place to a certain degree. And that's why I figured this was never going to work for me, because I can't commit to one particular. You see a lot of the accounts are very focused. Radio people are very focused on the radio, and mom accounts are very focused on the mom stuff. And they tell you that's the only way to be successful. And they're right. They're right to a degree. If you want to be successful, you do have to figure out who you are. But I do think that once you come to terms with sharing who you authentically are, the right people will find you. And I think that's kind of what happened for me. I think I spent my entire career with my family. You know, my parents are very old school, and I don't blame them, but my family saying, don't talk about mental health. Oh my God, you cannot talk about mental health. It's the kiss of death. No, you're going to get fired. You can't, whatever. Guess what? In 2021, I don't know anyone who's not medicated. I don't know anyone who's not going to therapy. After a pandemic, this is real life. And this is what people connect with. And I'm seeing more and more, I think we're all seeing more and more, the accounts, the people with letter boards and perfect kids and matching outfits and just keep swimming, ha ha ha, like the life is perfect and nothing's wrong, and ha ha, like your head's going to explode. And one day the real you is going to come out. And when that happens, that's when you'll find your actual people. But you can't sustain, it's not sustainable long-term, I don't think. And for the people who are doing it, who are setting up the perfect pictures and jumping through flaming hoops, kudos. I don't have that in me. I can't, I don't. And when I realized that radio was probably not going to be in my future, I had a conversation with my husband, and I said, listen, a lot of people are going through this stuff. A lot of people are DMing me and private messaging me, and I'm talking to people, you know, like offline about a lot of this stuff, and I'm going to start being more vocal about it, because I think anyone who can connect with or relate to what you're going through, you might feel like you have no power, and you have the power to save lives if you share your story and you connect with one human being. And that's the bottom line. No, go ahead.
Yeah, no, so a couple of things. One, I completely identify with the parents thing, because I'll either get a text from my overly Jewish mother who's trying to protect me but is way too still helicoptering around, or I will get a text or a message from my dad who's being told by my mom to message me to take down a post, or why is he talking about that? So I can completely agree with you on that. And the other thing is, I think there's a lot of us that have stuff flying around our head and our brain, and we're like, do other people think about this shit, or like, is this shit going through anyone else's head? And I think you talk about a lot of the stuff that a lot of us are thinking or find funny or interesting or what have you. And it's like, oh wait, yes, there's someone else out there that does have these weird, funny thoughts about stuff or observations. So I think it's comforting to know that there's people out there that think this stuff, that we aren't all in some sort of box.
And it's not mainstream, honestly. Right. Like I don't have ambitions. I'm never going to have 6-figure followers. Like, it's not going to happen, a 6-figure following. But I'm good with that, because the people that I have following me on every platform, they're people who identify with what, you know, the everyday things that I'm going through, and I can connect with them. And I've made so many friends this way, and it's free therapy. It really is. Like, it's free therapy for me. It's free therapy for everybody else who follows me. And I think it's not for everyone. It really is not for everyone, but that's not my goal. My goal isn't, you know, mass appeal. And it's been a great outlet. I have always, throughout radio, I've been in the position many times where people have said, like, oh, well, go to the improv and get on stage and, you know, try out your stuff there. No freaking way. That sounds like a nightmare to me. Like, I appreciate stand-up comedy more than I appreciate any other field that there is. I think it's amazing. Those people are on a pedestal in my eyes. I could never do it. And so for me, the perfect solution is, let me tweet this thing and see if it resonates with anybody. That's my form of stand-up comedy, because I am way too anxious to get up on stage. I'm way too critical of myself to be able to do anything like that. But this is my stage, and this is my outlet, and this is my way of seeing who connects with my material. And it's pretty cool. It's cool when you feel isolated and you're sitting in your house and you're, like right now, my kid's got a fever. When we stop talking, I have to take him to urgent care. But to be able to jump on my phone and see that there are people who relate with this stuff, it makes you feel accepted, and it makes you feel like you're not so alone. And I think finding your people is very liberating.
Yeah, no doubt. You can find her everywhere. You can get the socials at It's Deena Lang. Before we get you out of here, I need to do the cliche best and worst story in radio. It just has to happen.
Okay, so this is I've experienced so many cool things in radio. I have interviewed Metallica standing like a drenched rat in the rain, like after taken broken down buses to go interview Metallica, like just crazy stuff. But the one thing that really resonates with me, that made me laugh so hard, and that was one of those moments where I just kept thinking about it for days and smiling, was Richard Simmons. You know Richard Simmons,
of course.
Yeah. Sweating to the oldies.
Yeah.
Interviewing him, talking to him on the phone, and just randomly he was talking about how much he loved Lady Gaga, and that song Telephone had just come out, that duet with Gaga and Beyonce. And I was like, come on, let's sing it. And he freaked out, and he was so excited. And he was like, let's sing. I get to be Beyonce. Like he wanted to be Gaga. I get to be Gaga. And so I was Beyonce, and we did a duet of Telephone. And I will never forget that. And it was so awesome. It's funny because I've met so many great bands and done so many things, and that's the one thing to me, just like he was just so down for whatever in the moment. And that when it comes to radio, there's so many things, people's PR managers and their agents, they just won't let you do so many things. And just to have that freedom of like, this dude who's been around forever, he could hang up on me right now, is singing a duet with me on the phone, and just took a chance, and we're laughing, or having a good time. Like it was just a great memory. And worst, I'd have to say Stained, Aaron Lewis from Stained. Yeah. Like when I was working for Zeta, we had a big show. It was one of those festival outdoor shows, and he sat down for an interview. And I get it, we all have bad days and everything, but he was very grumpy because he had just been told that before he could go on stage, he had to do this massive meet and greet. So we had to shake hands and kiss babies and blah, blah, blah. And you want to be in the right mindset to go put on a show for the people. But he was pissed, justifiably pissed. But he took it out on me, and he was like one word answering me. And I finally was just like, we're done. Like, it was a live interview. It was before social media. We were on air, and I just went, we're done, forget it. And we cut to commercial, and that was that. And I've been very lucky to not have a lot of terrible interactions with musicians or celebrities. My bad interactions have always been with behind the scenes, like sales stuff that you don't see or hear. It's always behind the scenes stuff, but I don't have anything terrible. I don't have anything super juicy, unfortunately.
So not like me, who fell asleep on the air and was just the morning show just played me, just put the mic on as I was snoring in the.
Can you blame them?
Huh?
Can you blame them?
No, not at all.
You handed them an opportunity.
It was amazing content, and the general manager came in, and I thought he was going to fire me, and instead he thanked me for a great radio. But that was one of those moments. Deena, thank you for taking the time. I'll let you go be a mom and everything else now. I appreciate it. I appreciate you and everything you do on the socials. It keeps me going, and let's do it again sometime.
Yeah, I'll walk over to your house.
Yeah, do that. Good luck to you.
Walk over.
Yeah, it's a tough hood over here, so you just be careful.
For sure.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, Deena,
Thanks
thank
for
you.
having me.
All right,
Bye, dude.
bye. Thank you.